All right. Now, on your program, it says, special guest attorney Fred Kelly Grant. Well, unfortunately, Fred is stuck in Washington, D.C., trying to defend the very thing that he was going to be talking about with you today. And so he has sent a message which he has asked that I read. Now, I must don my glasses, as Washington once said, "I am sorry, but my eyes have grown weak in the service of my county." Message to sheriffs meeting in Delaware County on July 14th, 2012. Many weeks ago, I gladly accepted Sheriff Dean Wilson's invitation to appear at today's event. I have deepest respect for Sheriff Wilson and his wife, Mary, both of whom work as hard as humanly possible to protect the God-given rights. Beyond price in dollars is their work in spreading the word about how local officials can step up the pace to regain the traditional American way of life that is eluding our children. I respect just as deeply the sheriffs appearing today: Mike Poindexter of Modoc, Dave Hencrat of Tehama, Mike Downey of Humboldt, Tom Ullman of Mendocino, John Lopi of Siskiyou, and of course Gil Gilbertson of Oregon's Josephine County. They have taken a giant step forward to defend the rights of citizens. They have used the coordination authority granted them by federal and state laws to take a meaningful role in preventing usurpation of property rights by bureaucratic government agencies. They recognize and put into practice the traditional constitutional authority of the office of sheriff, the primary law enforcement officer with the responsibility of providing for the peace of the community. They take a proactive role in working for the economic stability of their communities and the citizens within them. Without economic health, there is insufficient revenue base to support necessary public safety and health services. So they urge the recreation of the logging projects that support schools and other services necessary to care for the public health and safety. They take a proactive role in preventing the close down of the forest through travel management plans, knowing that public health and safety requires open travel. They take a proactive role in developing policies regarding the dams on the Klamath River because they know that the adverse impact on rural economy of destruction. These sheriffs have created a new ray of hope for citizens long oppressed by arbitrary agency actions. The agencies are required to respond and work with the sheriffs by federal and state laws. I back them fully and hope that this meeting is a great success and gaining strength and support for them. I pledge to them that I will help them in every way that I can. I am terribly upset that I had to break my commitment to Dean Wilson to attend this meeting. There is work that I am involved in to defend the coordination concept at the moment to create new legislation in Congress dealing with the coordination and cooperating agency status. You all know the problems that cooperating agency status can get us into. Some of our well-meaning friends do not get it, and their efforts to legislation could afford the extreme environmentalists the opportunity to limit and extinguish the coordination mandate. The urgency of this issue prevents me from being there, but I am there in spirit, and I offer our most sincere apologies to Sheriff Wilson and you all. I have now retired from active daily coordination work. I have left in the capable hands of Trademark America and the daily work that can help move along the efforts to regaining a rightful power to local governments. I will still be helping the sheriffs in developing concepts and implementing them. And I will be looking for one big project that can cause DC to shake. Nominations are open for that project. I want to tell you that what I predict is going to happen in the next few months and into the new year after the November elections. We are in for an overwhelming onslaught of new and more severe regulations. Right now and until November, you can expect to see a concession after concession to extremist environmental groups and causes. The Secretary of the Interior withdrew lands from uranium mining exploration in northern Arizona. He did this as a concession to Bruce Babbitt and his environmental friends in the Grand Canyon Conservancy. As a long-promised blow to the uranium mining, the lands withdrawn contain a source of 40% of the domestic uranium we use to support the nuclear energy plants in this nation. This action will cause billions of dollars of economic losses to 8 counties in northern Arizona and southern Utah. This action was taken even though proof provided by the Secretary's own personnel showed that there is and never has been contamination of the water by the uranium mining. I am convinced that this has not been for the coordination efforts of Siskiyou County, the Secretary would have made the decision to move ahead with the destruction of the dams in the Klamath River. The Forest Service has engaged in closing down roads and trails and even the forests in the county. Only the action of the sheriffs and county officials through the coordination process have prevented complete shutdowns. The BLM and Forest Service has combined to begin planning for the protection of the sage grouse on the regional basis, to prevent particular counties from using their coordination authority to protect against the end and limitation of livestock grazing. The owl habitat plans for Northern California and Northwest will do away with the logging that is left. The Environmental Protection Agency and the Corps of Engineers is simply waiting for the appropriate time to release and enforce their clean water regulation that will implement the failed Clean Water Act restoration. The regulation will extend federal control to every body of water in the United States, including the dry desert potholes. And every piece of land that adjoins, is near, or is adjacent to this body of water. Do you get that? The federal government will control every parcel of land in the United States, subject to the Army Corps of Engineers permitting. The Environmental Protection Agency is waiting to release this dust control regulation that will make it impossible for every dry land farmer in the nation to continue its operation. Agricultural experts tell us that there is no possible way to comply with this regulation throughout the Great Middle, Western, and High Plains farming states. The EPA is waiting to release this boiler control regulation that will make it impossible for any steam boiler manufacturer to warrant that his product will meet the regulation. The regulation will kill the manufacturing and production companies that are left. The regulation is slated to release earlier, but President Obama ordered it retracted for the time being. Don't you imagine the day after November results will finally at the end, the time being, and the regulation will be issued. Down through the lines we go, and each regulation agency can do harm rural economies. No, not harm them, destroy them. If President Obama wins the election, the regulations can roll out free, and the worry by the administration of political fallout. If he loses, the regulations will roll out quickly over the next 2 months before the new administration takes office. I believe that 2 months between November and mid-January may be the most critical 2 months in our history. Personal liberty and private property rights are in dire jeopardy. Congress can't stop it, even if they have the will to do so. Congress is broken. The gridlock is pathetic, and some congressmen have even suggested that the founders intended for gridlock to occur. How ridiculous it is to believe that brave Americans risk their lives for freedom of gridlock. I still maintain that every person elected to Congress should have to pass a test showing that they understood every provision of the Constitution and that the history of the Constitutional Convention that led to the final document. I believe that the test were given today that you would see a massive exit from the Capitol. Fortunately for you folks, you have the prospect of a new congressman in Doug LaMalfa who does understand and gets it. And you have an incumbent Congressman, Tom McClintock, who stands firm with local officials in their efforts to intervene on property rights. The real problem in America today is that the massive overgrowth of bureaucracy, just as the overgrowth of forests is unhealthy, the overgrowth of bureaucratic regulation and restrictions renders liberty unhealthy. Our founders did not provide a government to be run by bureaucrats. I have a t-shirt that says the current government is what our founding fathers tried to prevent. He says, when I wear it, I get favorable comments from no matter where I am. America is hungry for the relief of the bureaucracy. You have all heard the problems, and you have heard the sad news of the creeping nationalism that is in what is the solution? You know what it is, and you have your local governments to stand up to the federal and state bureaucrats. Take their rightful place and develop policy and management of their natural resources, and make the 10th Amendment provisions live again. My 76 years and 50 years in the practice of law, working with and against the federal government, have convinced me that several premises there are no longer any hope for Congress will change course. No matter what party controls, Congress is broken. There is no longer any hope for the executive administration agencies will change course, no matter which party controls the White House. The change from the Clintons to the Bushes didn't help because bureaucrats protected the civil service entrenched in their livelihoods dependent upon their dominance. There is no control or any hope in the Supreme Court will change course, no matter whether it's a 4 to 5 edge in conservancy. Too much predestined has been set by the court and completely enforce the 10th Amendment authority. There is no longer any hope that state governments will change course, no matter who controls the state houses. They have become too dependent on federal money and entangled strings, and they have become too dominated by metropolitan urban areas. An example is being the redistricting program in California controlled by Southern California cities. But there is hope for local government level. There is hope as long as local sheriffs and supervisors in small towns and special districts and even non-governmental organizations supporting agriculture and natural resource economies will step forward and exercise their authority, granted them by the 10th Amendment and by the federal and state statutes which provide for coordination power. I urge all of you to follow the words of Sir Winston Churchill when Englanders in the darkest hour in the Blitzkrieg of 1941. Never give in, never give in, never, 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 in nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Support your sheriffs and supervisors and all local officials who are willing to follow these words, who are willing to stand tall against overwhelming force and a huge federal-state regulatory onslaught. The only way that we can lose our God-given constitutional reinforced rights is by giving in, by giving up. The sheriffs who are here today have not given in, and they have no intention of giving in or stand up. They stand up for them, support them. Your children and your grandchildren depend on you to preserve for them the American way of life that you knew as children. Don't let them down. Say to the bureaucrats again what President Kennedy just said 3 years prior to his assassination. We dare not forget today that we are the heirs of the first revolution. Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by the hard and bitter peace, proud of its ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness and permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. As we move forward with the sheriffs through the Tea Party organizations, your Central Committee activities, your service clubs, your schools, church organizations, and as individuals, keep in mind the admonition to all of us by John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Do this for your country. Step up as Americans with your sheriffs and say to the bureaucratic powers, we will not be intimidated. We will take back this America and that we knew and loved. God bless you. God bless the proactive sheriffs, and God bless America. Fred Kelly.